Yes! Oh!
Excuse me.
Shh!
Hello and welcome to Gpod number 16. I am your host, Camouflage, and I will be introducing our participants shortly. But first, some news. So I'd like to apologize for our long absence of Gpod. It's been about a year since our last one, but we would like to start doing these more frequently again, maybe every 3 to 4 months or so. But I guess you could consider this to be season 2 of Gpod. So let's go. Since our last one, there's been a few big impactful videos that I want to mention, and they include Joker, which is Mr. Mister's first video in about 3 years, and at about 20 minutes long, it's a return to some of his best content, like Pootis Man 5 and Spy's Creed. So it's good to see he still has that in him. There's also Heavy is Dead, which has by Antoine Delac, which has received about 7 million views and also about 7 million videos on YouTube copying it. So congratulations, community. You've done it. And of course, there's been so many other great, wonderful videos out there. Too many for us to review, which is kind of a shame, but please keep an eye out there for other Gmodders. There's so many talented individuals, and we really have a great community. Now, in collaboration news, there have been a few new releases, including Engineers Escape Adventure collab, and also 2 collabs that were over an hour long in the Golden Sandwich collab, which just released this past week, I think, and the Talent Show collab 2. So go give those a watch. There's also a few Twitter accounts I would like to mention, including Gmod Quotes, which is hosted by Awesome Noob, who is also our streamer today, so props to him for making all of this possible. The Gmod Quotes account will randomly tweet out quotes from various Gmod videos, both new and old, so it's good for a little bit of nostalgia. There's also the No Context Gmod account, which is hosted by Lol Scorpion, who happens to be our first guest today. So, Scorpion, do you want to talk about No Context Gmod?
Yes, gladly. So firstly, greeting everyone. It's a pleasure to be there for this new podcast. And I am indeed the host of Out of Context Gmod. So to start off, I've got this idea from pretty much every Out of Context Twitter account that exists. I'm sure that you probably went into one of these accounts by simply scrolling down on Twitter. I wanted to do one with Garry's Mod because I wanted to find a good way to promote the content of unknown Gmodders. I see plenty of animations that are very good but underrated. So I think that I wanted people to know about this by showing a very short moments of a videos. By creating this account, I usually use it to promote a new Gmod videos. When someone makes a new video and I think it's very good, I just post a random moment to the account and link a source to it. And like that, the creator will get more attention, more subscribers, all this stuff. And also, it allows me to usually post content of moment from Gmod videos that I like. Usually it's a classic stuff, like Scout and Heavy becomes a boat, that one famous face of the Scout, or even that infamous clip of the Scout of the spy hanging himself. I post a various moment of a Gmod moment, either from popular videos, either from unknown. I just do that for fun, and I'm very happy to know that many people like this. Many people are very thankful to me for posting their videos on out of context Gmod, because like that they get more attention and all, and I'm very glad to hear that it saved them. So yeah, if you haven't heard of it before, you may, if you want to, check out of context Gmod for random moment from Gmod videos, from idle videos you know or never saw before.
Yeah, it can be a really good way to discover new channels because you get these nice little 5 to 10 second tidbits of them that are easy to digest. And if you like it, then you might like the animator's other content. And he links to their to the full video in each tweet, so you can find them pretty easily. Now, Scorpion, you recently made your first Overwatch animation. So what was that like compared to your TF2 content?
For starters, it was definitely something different. I've been animating for, I think, 4 years or so, and most of all my animations I've always been done with TF2 ragdolls. I've been used to move these ragdolls. I've been used to pose them. I've been used to use the voice and other, and even do some mix-up. And it was definitely something new for me for the first time. So the reason why I did an Overwatch animation is, for starters, I really like this game, and secondly, because I think it's an important and no, definitely important to make animations other than TF2 because Gmod isn't only about TF2. You can go further than this. You don't have to always make animation about the same game. Since you have the opportunity to make with other ragdolls, then you can do it, and it's what I wanted to do. I wanted to do something simple for a start with McCree and Reaper. And it wasn't very difficult. The ragdolls that I used were very good, very smooth and all. I didn't really went into problem with the yip sneak over the pose. So it was a rather simple video to make. And it was also nice to make something since I've animated in a while. The only way problem with this is that I want to make more animations with Overwatch characters. The only problem is that I don't usually find the models I need. The most of the time when I look up for models, they were either from SFM or they were either pure model, and I'm not very good with pure model. But it's something I want to do, something I want to continue, and this video was a very good start. I can see that people really enjoyed it, and I want to continue that. I want to make both TF2 and Overwatch animations, and maybe sometime even try with more. But for the moment, I'm gonna keep going with that game.
Yeah, I think it's really great when people veer off and make videos with characters that aren't commonly used. Like, I think El Toro is the only other person I've seen make Overwatch content, which is interesting because it's been out for, I don't know, 3-4 years now.
4 years
like that.
now, yeah.
Yeah, so hopefully we keep getting those assets so that people can make more Overwatch content, and hopefully we get assets for other video games so that we can broaden what we do with Gmod. I guess one more specific question: what is the face posing like on those? Is it kind of similar to like the TF2 standards or the TF2 hardware morphs, or is it something completely different?
In my memory, I think it's definitely something completely different. It's not like there isn't like the same name for each part of the face. It's different. Like I don't think there's something for like make the character smile. I think it's a part of the yip that you need to move up. So just something completely different, but it was also very simple. As you can see in the video, I didn't really add any problems making the yip sneak of McCree, despite that it doesn't say that. It just says, hey, and it's Arnold. It was rather simple. I just did what I always do. I go on Vegas, I count the frames for what he says, and I like sometimes watch myself saying the word so I can get a clear idea of how he said. So yes, it was different, but it wasn't difficult. It was something that I pretty much do all the time.
That's good because I know some ragdolls have pretty difficult lip sync to work with, at least from my point of view, including the Left 4 Dead ragdolls, which leads me to our next participant, which is Seemaz. And I'm going to ask you the very predictable question: what's the deal with Tasty Cool's 9?
Hello, I'm Seemaz. What's the deal with Testicles 9? It's my next video I've been working on for a long time. I haven't posted a video for over a year now, and that's why I've just been working on Testicles 9. I think it's up to 14 minutes now, and like that's a lot of animation to be doing. Right now, you can see Tasticles 8 if you don't know what it is. Yes, I use Left 4 Dead characters like Coach. He's the main character, sort of. And then there's Nick. Any more questions? Then what's the deal?
So you said you have 14 minutes so far. How long do you think the whole thing will be?
I'm aiming for about 20 minutes because that's what the last one was. But I don't think I will be able to get through the whole plot. I think I'm getting into like the third act, like just a simple 3-act structure. So like it's third act, but I think I'm going to make it just full of lots of exciting stuff. And it could just go on for a while. It could be 25 minutes. I really can't tell.
All right, that sounds very exciting. We're all very much looking forward to Tasty Cool's 9 whenever it eventually comes out. And
At
also,
least this year.
are you making that commitment?
I'm going to say that, yeah.
Nice. Okay. Yeah, we'll hold you to that. So I've also heard you recently switched from using Henry's animation tool to now using stop motion helper. So after many years of working with Henry's animation tool, how has that transition been and why did you make the change?
So, first of all, I think Henry's animation tool was a bit quicker for me to use, but it was also completely. It's quite inaccurate. Like you can't count frames. There's no frame numbers. It's just these stupid-looking blocks of animation. There's nothing like that in the actual real industry. So
Yeah, because it's a timeline, but you don't have a actual timeline on the timeline. There's no grid with, this is what 1 second is, this is what 1 frame is,
it's
and
not even a second. Yeah, it's insane.
it's
It's
just,
just like
this box is 10 pixels wide.
I use it more like stop motion. It's like if you had stop motion, but you could tween those frames. That's
Yeah,
how I
because
used
a
it.
lot a
And
lot of
then,
stop motion people, like, if the speed's not right, you delete a screenshot or you make a screenshot 2 frames long. So with Hat, you can kinda make those adjustments pretty easily, so I can see where you're coming from.
yeah, but going on to SMH now, it's great. It's so much more accurate, but it takes a lot more time to make something that looks good. But I can do it. It's just it really has impacted on the speed at which I can make scenes and shots. Like every time I go into Gary's Mod to make something, I make like one shot, which is a second or 2 or 3 seconds long. I used to be able to get through a few shots at a time, but they look better, heaps better.
Yeah, and I think
Like
another thing that might make that better is with stop motion helper, your key poses are always going to be frames that are recorded. But with Hat, since you're not really rigidly lined up with frames, you could have a key pose that you get kind of like 1 frame is slightly before and 1 is slightly after, and you never get that strong pose that you have, if that makes any
yeah,
sense.
it's not accurate enough. Um, and with SMH, you can go to each frame, like literally each frame that you will see. There's no in between. There's no hidden in betweens. Everything you see on the timeline is what you're going to see in the finished product, which is a lot more accurate.
Yeah,
As,
although
as the saying is, every frame's a painting, so you can go through every frame and look at it and see if it looks good.
yeah, that is yeah, because you could have 1 frame where, like, it completely blows up, and in stop motion helper, you can easily find that frame, whereas with Hat, it could be, just arbitrarily in the middle of some box.
It's really haphazard, if you ask me.
Yeah, that's for sure. So what are your recommendations, for people trying to get into Gary's Mod? Like, should they just go straight to SMH, or is Hat still worth looking at?
The funny thing is, when I first started using Hat, it actually looked a lot more like SMH. I just never went on to SMH. So start with SMH. It's what it looks much more like what industry standard programs look like anyway.
Yeah, and they are expecting eventually to have an update to SMH where we will have a separate timeline for face posing and maybe even finger posing, which is one of the big advantages had. So, like, yeah, once that happens, then there's really not going to be too much of a reason to dabble with Henry's animation tool.
That's true, but it could give you it could cause you to pay more attention to the body movements when you're doing face posing, which is just as important as the mouth posing. Like, if you had a character that had a mask on, you can't see his mouth. You need to move his body when he's talking anyway. Like, it forces you to have to think about the whole body when he's doing his mouth posing and mouth tweening, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Acting with dialogue.
So, do you have anything else to add about these tools or your video?
Well, I also capture each frame as a screenshot, and it just looks nicer. Recording, you can lose frames. I'll just say that. Like, I think Tasticles 8 suffered with a lot of dropped frames. I would have to slow the game down, record at half speed, so I can get it to not drop frames so much. And that's just not a problem with SMH.
Yeah, although if you do have particles or something like that, and you are basically required to record video, Stop Motion Helper it's fairly good at recording video. But even if your frame rate is like pretty high, you can still just drop frames just because SMH wants to. Kind of finicky in that regard.
Oh yeah, but the good thing is you just go back and do it again.
Yeah,
You can try it.
quick and easy.
Particles are a problem, like having smoke effects. That you can't do that with frame by frame. But just you can use both. Use Hat Tool for those scenes if you want, so you can have the best of both worlds.
And speaking of worlds, our next guest is Texas Steve, who is not actually from Texas, but he might be a Steve. So, Steve, you've improved your animation quality a lot over the past year. How did you do it?
Basically, I started using Blender and looking at other people's animations, and it helped me a lot to understand how a person actually moves or an object, for example. It
So what
hasn't anticipated. Oh, go ahead.
so what specifically did you do in Blender that helped here?
Uh, Depends. I started making character animations and then also moved to view model animations, which are basically just first-person arms and the gun. So you basically animate the gun firing or reloading, stuff like that you see in the game.
And so even though it's obviously a totally different program, you're able to take lessons learned from using Blender and take that into Gmod and improve there, right?
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, I feel like I've had it before where like someone does SFM and like I'll say something about the animation and they'll think, well, you do Gmod, it's this totally different thing. And it's like, yeah, there's some difference in how you make the animation, but the 12 principles of animation still apply. There's all these things that you can carry over from one to the other. Uh, so in that regard, you should learning one would help you learn the other.
Yeah. The biggest difference in SMH and well animation programs like Blender or even SFM, Source Maker, is that SMH uses linear curves rather than Bezier like Blender. Though I have no idea what uh, Source Maker uses because it's really weird.
Yeah, I actually don't either. But I'm pretty sure they do have more control over the shape of the tweening, whereas we basically just have linear tweens only, or the built-in SMH auto easing, which really isn't that effective.
Though the maker does want to implement Bezier curves into SMH, so I'm waiting for that and the face posing and finger posing if that's available.
Yeah, I'd forgotten about the Bezier curves in SMH. It'll be really interesting to see how that works out. It doesn't really seem too hard to implement. I mean, it's just a bunch of simple math, so yeah, hopefully we see that sometime soon. Big shout out to Winded, who is the creator of Stop Motion Helper and also Ragdoll Mover. So we really owe him a lot because those are two of the tools that we use most.
I just want my sweet, sweet Bezier curves because they basically smooth everything out for you and act like the way you want it to.
Yeah, that would just be really game changing. I feel like we haven't had that kind of that might create kind of like a paradigm shift in how we do things that we haven't really seen since SMH 2.0 came out, which was like 4 or 5 years ago. So yeah, these past years we've all really been just using the same tools.
Yeah, which kind of sucks.
Right? Do you have anything else to add on kind of your animation quality, lessons learned with that, or maybe do you want to talk about a video that you're working on right now?
Well, I don't actually have a video that I'm working on. I'm still, taking a break after animating for the Golden Sandwich collab and making an April Fool's video. Though animation quality, well, technically the only thing I can add to it is that don't use two keyframes when you're animating. That's literally really bad.
Yeah, if you only have a start and an end pose on your timeline, your animation is going to be really robotic and linear, and it's just not going to work. You need to add more keyframes to your animations. A good balance that I've found is you want roughly, I don't know, like 10 or 12 per second. So if you're animating at 30 FPS, for example, that would mean you have a keyframe roughly every 2 to 4 frames. It depends on what's going on, really. Just that should be kind of like a goal to achieve, I suppose. All right, so our last guest is Tax Sun, who also goes by Jackie Saint. So, what are you currently working on in Gmod?
Hello, Cami. And yes, what I'm currently working on right now is called Project The Last Straw, which is uh, my take on, like, let's say it's, hmm, I forgot the word. Let's say it's my way at this scene at The Last Jedi for being a horror movie. So I started working on this project about last year, January, and a lot of things have been getting into my way. So the production's kind of not really going smooth.
Yeah, you've done a few collabs since then, right?
Yes, those were opportunities.
Yeah,
So I had to take
opportunities,
them.
but also distractions.
Yeah, sadly.
So, how much of this project do you have done so far?
Well, I would say I have already had like about 50 or 60% of it complete. Just needed to animate the rest of it and then do special effects, and it should be ready. But it's I can't tell the precise day it will be finished because life responsibility and other kind of stuff getting in my way.
And so, how long do you think the video is going to be?
Well, I'm hoping that I could get it finished within this year. I have like about 5 or 6 other projects I want to finish as well.
Yeah, sometimes it can be hard to focus on only one, but really the important thing is that you just keep on working, even if it's bouncing from project to project. Eventually, they'll all get done. Is there anything new you're trying in this video? Like whether it's like something new with your animation or like the plot of the story?
Well, first, I was trying to implement a lot more into the animation than the usual stuff. Like cinematography with more kind of like scenes with the world having a larger scale to it for some part, and action scenes is what I'm trying to push for this project because there's going to be a lot of it near the end of these animations. And it's also the first time the I made an animation with an actual story in a sense, and there's characters and a lot of voice acting for it, which is it's also going to be probably going to be the first 10 minutes long animation on my channel as well. So it's pretty a big project on its own.
Yeah, it sounds like you've got a lot of cool things going on there. I'm always a big fan of videos that have some kind of plot or story to them, and original voice acting is also pretty underrated. You could just do, I mean, really, there's an infinite amount of things you can do with original voice acting, and there's a lot of willing actors out there.
Yeah, I love animations with an actual story and characters that can actually speak and doesn't require on like voice line taken from video games or slapped together like some TF2 animations. I mean, those are fun, but they don't express like normal, natural people you would
Yeah,
expect from.
you don't get like an expression of emotions. You really just get words out of that.
So uh, when making these kind of animations, finding male voice actors, they're pretty easy. But for my contents, there's going to be a lot of female characters, so that's going to be a real struggle. To look for female voice actresses that actually does it for free, because I'm poor.
Yeah, so if you are a female voice actor looking for some unpaid gigs, then Taxon over here is your guy. So please go check out his channel. And if you're not a free female voice actor, then still check out his channel because he has some pretty neat, well animated videos on there. Is there anything else you would like to add?
No, I think I'm done for my part.
All right, so we're going to move to our first all inclusive topic of today, which is going to be the second House of Gmodders project, which was Meet the Medic Reanimated, which was a collaborative effort between about 30 or so Gmodders to reanimate Meet the Medic. And most of us here were a part of that. So, what did you guys think about working on the project, and how do you think it turned out?
If everyone is fine, I'm gonna go first.
Yes.
Sure.
Alright, so for starters, it was my second time taking part of one of these projects. My first one being Meet the Spy Reanimated. And for this one, I had yes the time to animate. I had about 5 seconds, and it was very brief. It was just the medic starting the medic gun and starting to heal. That was everything. And I still tried my best to make it as interesting as possible. So it was very simple. It was just the medic putting on funky gases, I don't remember how they're called, slamming the nut button and starting to heal. It was very brief, and I still think I did good there with additional things in the background. Now, the collab in general, I think we did pretty good on this one. We had a guest, not really guest, we had animators that we didn't had before, like there was a Batman and a Great Detector, I think, who raped their. If you don't know, these two are the ones who makes Team Neighborhood. I'm sure you've seen that series before, and it was quite a surprise that you see them. Like, I was accepting that the one who would work on that project would be where the members of House of Gmodos are. So I'm not gonna say you're not popular Gmodos, but I mean Gmodos from there, not the Gmodos like character or stuff like that. But it was indeed a surprise that they would take part of the project. I'm even gonna say that it was. Actually, I don't know if this one was better than Meet the Spy Reanimated, because I think both were good. But in all honesty, I think it was a great project. Everyone managed to make their part original and unique, and that's the best part about Reanimated collabs. And I'm gonna say it again, thanks to everyone who took part for Meet the Medic Reanimated. It was a success, and it was probably one of our greatest projects.
Yeah, we were really blessed with a lot of talented Gmodders, and some of them were kind of outside of our the circle of Gmodders that we usually have around us. So that was really cool to see everyone come together and work on their entries. Um, and you mentioned Meet the Spy, which actually just reached 1 million views. So big shout out to all you guys that worked on that. You did really good. I don't know where Meet the Medic is. It's probably like half that, maybe 500,000.
I think so.
A lot of views. Yeah, just really goes to show like all the hard work we put into those videos is really paying off. And yeah, I guess I love the video. I think everyone made very creative, nicely made entries, but it might have been just a little too segmented. And part of that was because we actually had almost too many people sign up. So we had to segment the video every single like 5 to 10 seconds, uh, and some of those cuts were we tried to keep them in between, like to match the jump cuts of each individual scene, but we had some that were just in the middle of scenes, kind of somewhat arbitrarily, just because we had too many people working on it. So I think if we were to do something in the future, that I would want it to be a little more cohesive. So maybe we wouldn't be switching off animators every 5 seconds. We'll take some different approach to it.
Yeah, it was definitely the biggest problem. I think that there was some people who switched their port, and even some Gmoders who left because in the end they didn't really at the time. So yes, if we ever do something like that, it would be best that we prepare the participants way early. Like we take time to know if everyone is gonna be ready, if they're fine with their moment, and if they're not gonna quit, stuff like that.
Yeah, and with these kind of projects, and really any project, communication is absolutely crucial. So for this one, we created an entire Discord server just for the project, and we gave every single participant their own text channel where they could post whatever they wanted about their entry, whether it was storyboarding or ideas or screenshots of what they were planning on doing, and they were able to receive feedback from everyone else. And since they had their own channels, they weren't getting buried by discussions on other people, and they're also able to pin what they deemed to be important in their channel, and it really made communication very easy and effective. So I think if you're out there looking to do some kind of group project, even if it's smaller, like 6 people, then that kind of organization would be very helpful. I also think Slack might be a little better for this kind of thing, since I mean Slack is made for teamwork instead of Discord, which is more of just, let's sit around and talk. But I feel like we might just stick with Discord just because everyone has Discord. So, Steve Moz, what did you think of the collab? You always tend to make fun parts in these that people love commenting on.
You know what? I'm going to go against what you said, how you think it was too disjointed. I think there should be even more people, because I think there's so much going on that you got to watch it like 100 times, and there's so much to see. It's great. And animating, like I had like 3 seconds or less. It was so much fun trying to like find what I can do in that short amount of time, just throwing in everything I could. So I made Scout strip down, and I had to like learn how to get like models to come off him like clothing, and like I had such little time to get him to pull off his pants and his shirt. And it's so much fun trying to do that. So like it's insane. There's so much going on. It cuts things, but It was a lot of fun to make, and I think it's a lot of fun to watch as well.
Yeah, I guess I should kind of rephrase on what I said. Like, I guess I'm okay with how disjointed Meet the Medic is, but for like a future project that's not a reanimation of something that already exists, I would certainly want something more cohesive. But for something that is just a reanimation, that kind of insanity really helps, and that restriction in both the short amount of time and the fact that you must go along with the sound effects that are already there, that restriction actually kind of brought out creativity in people.
Hmm. I think it might not work for something that, like, what's that one that's about the bread? That one's a bit longer, a bit slower at parts. I don't think it would. That sort of format would work because there's a lot of just dialogue between the scout and the medic. I think I can't remember it that well, but the medic is kind of ramps up and the music swells and it's like really like it's a big battle scene. I think it really works for that, having the quick cuts and different animators.
Yeah, we definitely picked two of the ones that are best fit towards being reanimated to start with, which kind of put us in a hole where, like, we can't do like uh, what's a simpler one? Like Meet the Heavy reanimated. That would be really lame because people have made like a million different versions of Meet the Heavy already, and there's really not a whole lot going on. There's not too much creativity you can add to that. So that's one reason why I think we should try to move away from reanimating these and try to think of some original projects that we can create.
Ned trailer? Just lots of coaches. I'm just kidding.
You and your coaches.
Yeah, I had fun making that there. I'm definitely be there for the next thing.
All right, I'll hold you to that. So, Taxun, what did you think about Meet the Medic?
Well, I would say Meet the Medic collab was definitely one of the wackiest collab I ever participated in, and it was a blast for me. And I was really grateful that Awesome Noob actually came to me and, asked me if I wanted to join or not. And no, this is just, like I said earlier, an opportunity to mm, get my channel well known and stuff. So I took part in it, and it was fun. So when when I was given my part in the collab, I wasn't sure which part I would like to um, animate for the collab. Uh, and so you and someone else probably have given me, the part I did with the Sonic Shoe medallion. uh, it was that part was, in my opinion, was kind of restricted for me because I couldn't. There wasn't really much going on there, and I was kind of lack of ideas on how to spin this around. So I made it weird and stand out more by giving medic some weird looking cosmetics and other weird stuff to make it stand out more. It, I think my part was definitely the weakest part in the entire collab. The only impact it made was the Sonic Shoe medallion, and that's pretty much it. So, my, uh, I I still had fun animating those scenes, and probably I think I could have learned something from this to try to improve if I ever join any other next collab.
Oh, I thought your entry was pretty good, and I like how the weird cosmetics, like crazy eyes, medic, it transitioned well into Evil's entry, which I think was directly after that, the demonic ritual.
Yes.
Yeah, so I don't know if that connection was intentional, but I thought it was really cool.
No, it wasn't intentional. It was me playing around with advanced line entities in the map. So I tried to make the entire room red and orange-ish, just like in the original scenes when the medic beam things kind of glow in the entire room. So one of the advanced line entities somehow made medic's eyes turn orange. So I yeah, it may have looked like some stray feeling came out of a Disney movie, like Scar, I think. It was unique.
Was there anything else you want to add on your entry?
Mm, um, I wish I could have actually like picked the action scenes so I could, do a lot more badass stuff. And use a crap load of particle effects because I've been using those a lot on my animations.
Yeah, I remember that the action scenes were some of the first to go. Just about everyone wanted to do those scenes. But honestly, I picked the one I picked because I felt like it would be the easiest one for me to complete. So Texas
Can I say
Steve.
something quickly
Oh yeah,
about
go ahead,
that?
Scorpion.
Yeah, just saying, but I think that's
You cut out there. Could you repeat?
the whole collab. There wasn't a single port that seemed normal or something like that. Every collab, every port, even the one that lasted 5 seconds, were completely crazy, were nonsense for 5 seconds. So saying it's the weakest port is quite a huge word. You can say that it's a yes we've done the other if you think like it. And I'm not, and to be honest, I don't think it was very yes we've done the other. I felt like it was as crazy as the others because having a little cactus jumping into the whip cage of the heavy to do God knows what, I wouldn't qualify this as non-weird. But yeah, there wasn't such thing as a weak port. But if it's your opinion, I won't judge you for it.
Yeah, I feel like while we all had our own different styles and takes on it, there was like a level of insanity and crazy creativity that was pretty much consistent throughout the entire video.
I think I think that's the charm of that collab. Everyone just went crazy on their own end.
That's a very good choice of word. We went from a medic doing a satanic ritual with a heavy being on a cross, with a scene of next scene was literally a 2x reference. There was a scene with a goddamn Gmod as rockets. So yeah, the level of insanity was pretty high there.
You know, a lot of more typical collabs often suffer from bits where there's a lot of like weaker entries and uh, kind of like as a whole, it'll be a good collab. It'll be like, man, this one section was really boring, or this one entry was kind of bad. But I feel like we didn't get that with Meet the Medic.
Definitely not.
So, Texas Steve, you unfortunately were not a part of Meet the Medic. We are sorry about that, but we are curious about your opinion of it since you have a unique perspective of it among us. So, what did you think?
I actually really loved it. It's so nice to see people get together and animate something like that, especially the Meet the Medic one. The level of insanity was really big. Especially, I feel bad for the soldier getting hit by Scout.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that was a pretty
And
metallic impact sound.
I don't want to know what his generators were made of. Anyways, I really like the references to other games like Deus Ex or even RuneScape. They were really clever. Though
Yeah,
I don't really know what else to add other than maybe the ending was really nice, the soldier pile and medic and heavy climbing up. slowly.
It really feels like with this collab that just about every single entry would work on no context Gmod. Am I right, Scorpion?
Betcha. So if you post a random, so if you have a 1 second of your Gmod animation where everything goes bad shit, remember to send it to me because I will make you even more famous.
All right. Does anyone have any closing remarks on Meet the Medic before we move on to our next topic?
One thing, but once again, Sibmoz made the whole comment section ask about the same thing. Did the scout just hit that soldier with his thingy? Because reminder, but in the yes mid collab, Meet the Spy reanimated, there was actually a two culprit who made the comment section confused. It's a Sibmoz and now some noob. First, there was a Sibmoz with the infamous moment of, oh my god, did that spy just kiss the scout on the yips? And the second was with awesome noob who asked to everyone a very good question. Hey, was that character from a Warframe in that single picture? Was it very egg? And for everyone wondering, yes, it was apparently that guy. So congratulations to Sibmoz, who once again dominated the comment section.
I think my sense of humor is too old for people. It's like
You're just special.
it's just gay jokes, which is it's outdated. That's why people are commenting on.
You know, like
Yes,
I just think it's funny, but there's like the shock value to other people, and like
That's
okay.
why I do. Well, I go into it without seeing anyone else's, entries, and I just want to do what I think is the most ridiculous thing, and that's just what I do.
Your part was literally caught me off guard.
Does anyone have a favorite that's not their own?
I'm not gonna say there was a favorite because I don't want to make any jealous, but I'm gonna mention a few favorites of mine. So there was a Bhutanese boss with the 2 export. It was very short, but very well put to have a suddenly heavy and medic turned into 2x character. There was also a Clubbins who did a very good port. That was it was supposed to be shorter, but it became longer. It started with a Josuke pose, and then there was the medic playing a football with a whole orchestra, like in the music hall. I mean, like the music you hear in the background, doing the attack of the soldiers. And the other one that I really liked would be, I would just say the port of a Shane, with instead of having the scout being blown up by the rocket, he got blown up by a creeper while playing Minecraft, smashed his table, threw his table into the air, only to get crushed by it after. These were my favorites, but I'm gonna say it again, everyone did a perfect job. There wasn't a port that was better than the other.
Yeah, Scorpion had some really solid picks there. He stole mine. I wanted to talk about Clubbins because I thought he did an excellent job of using the sound effects in really unpredictable ways. So I guess to bring up a new entry, I'll talk about Tix or Mid, depending on.
He is being called Mid now.
He changes his name.
Yeah.
But yeah, his RuneScape entry was great. Like I don't think I've ever seen the RuneScape models in Gmod before, and I used to play way too much RuneScape, so that was pretty cool for me to see. And I like how it was totally like everyone else had the TF2 models, and so you'd think that using something totally different would be a bit distracting, but it still flowed perfectly with the video. So yeah, shout out for that. Good entry.
Can I just mention, I was very happy to see Ultimate Evil. He hasn't done much lately, and he had a really good entry. I like that one.
Yeah, he was definitely the most demonic one, I would say. Just a reminder, but yeah, he needs a port. The medic placed the heavy hold on a spike, I think, and it was in the middle of a satanic circle with the heavy being on a cross. So I think that this one reached the peak of evilness. I don't think that anybody did more evil than that.
Well, he is the ultimate evil, so
fair enough.
Yeah, he did an excellent job of expressing emotion on heavy, like the kind of nervous laughter that was really nicely face posed.
Yeah.
Anyone else have an entry they would like to discuss before we move on?
I really like the Deus Ex one. That's it. I'm done with this topic now. someone else say something.
All right, so our next topic is what is something you want to see more of from the Gmod community? And this could either be a type of content or something like a bit more meta, like how people work together on videos, that sort of thing.
More animators.
Yeah, always looking for more animators and videos.
More anime.
Like very much is more tennis matches, because that used to be a common thing back in like 2012 to 2014. Is you'd be like, hey, I make Gmod videos and you make Gmod videos, let's do a tennis match together. And those were cool because you'd have these two Gmodders with different styles coming together and making some stupid series that ultimately never got anywhere, but it was fun. And you don't really see those anymore. There is the Doppelgangers Rampage, which is like a 7-man tennis, and that's actually resumed lately. So it's cool to see that get revived. But besides that, I haven't seen a whole lot of tennises. So go find a friend, start a tennis match. They're cool. Also, I think it'd be nice if more people uh, like made small group projects together. Like when I kind of like my collaboration collab, but specifically like when me and Pre Spunky made Vehicular Manslaughter together, the way that we worked on basically every second of that video was both of our efforts. That kind of collaborative effort creates content that's usually better than what both of the individuals could do separately. So I think it'd be cool if people worked together a little more.
Fair enough. I actually did two tennis. The first one I did wasn't much. It was just a tennis that was supposed to last a 4 pot, but I actually lost interest in it, so I didn't do my 4th pot. It was simply a tennis about my Sona and the Sona of a friend Gmod who goes just grab the interior of the blue base. Not very much, but I still really like the second pot I did for it. The second tennis I did was for the collab. Yeah, I was assigned with a maid, and I think we did a really good job there. We did just a short video about like our sonas playing pranks on each other in Happy House. It was something that I really liked, and as you said, it was something that would be nicer to see more often. Tennis are a really good project. Also, I don't know what I would like to see more with the Gmod animation, so I'm gonna be on your side, Camouflage. It would be awesome to see more tennis.
So, in my opinion about what I would like to see coming more out of the Gmod communities, that probably more exposure for the underrated and newbie animators, people like us. Because I have noticed that, like, ever since, the big Gmod boys that was well known back in 2012, 2015, like that's bullshit. That I think he already moved on, and a lot of many other animators kind of drop the flag. They move on with their lives and stuff. So people from then they've been having this kind of impressions about the Gmod machinima genres kind of dying or already dead. But ever since I joined you guys, I actually like seen a lot of new animators that I have never heard before, and they actually make a lot of quality contents. But like Grindo, his stuff is actually pretty quality, but he doesn't have much subscribers, so I think this is a problem with this community. People think it's dead, but it's actually still pretty active, just not flourishing like it was back in 2012.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, there's still quite a bit of activity because, like, we're here, we're making a podcast about Gmod. There's still quite a bit going on, but yeah, a lot of it does fly under the radar, and that's why, like, we try really hard, like with Meet the Medic, to tell everyone, hey, go check out these channels, and same with like the No Context Gmod Twitter. Like, we're trying all these things to get people exposure, but it's just difficult because ultimately a lot of it's just the YouTube algorithm. And either you're a part of it or you're not. And there's some things you can do to influence whether or not you'll get picked up by it, but ultimately it's very luck based, which is why my recommendation to Gmodders is don't worry much at all about subscribers. If you get them, that's cool. If you don't, whatever. Just keep making the content that you want to make. That's what's most important.
Don't try being someone else.
Be yourself and be happy.
I know a guy who likes to be me, but that's fine. He's still learning. His name's Huster, and he's a very good boy.
Yeah, Hooster's a pretty good animator. Go check him out.
He talked to me once. He said like he worries that people think of him as just some copycat, but I told him it's okay. He's
you're just a
out to
copycat of
learn.
Coach, so big deal.
I'm a copycat of that guy who made Adventures of Coach or something. I don't know. I never watched it. He spoke to me, and I said, "Hey, how's it going?"
I think I know who this is. I think his name is... Actually, I don't remember his name, but I have a clear idea of who you're talking about.
Friendly guy. He wants to get back into it.
Oh,
Anyway, that's
great.
besides the point. Huster, he's a good boy. He likes to copy what I do because he's a fan. That's all it is, and he just wants to learn the skills and stuff, and that's fine if you want to copy someone else's work. If
I think
it
it's
means
something very good, yeah.
if you use someone else's style just to learn skills, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I agree with you. You know what we say, imitation is a big form of flattery. So I encourage people to get inspired by others' animation, whether it's the style or or the possible jokes they do into it, so they can get inspired by it and create their own content.
Yeah, and don't fret too much that like you're not immediately like see Moz levels of quality with your work. Like that's not something that happens in a short amount of time. You got to work your way up to it. So don't stress about it. Think of it more as a goal than like a comparison. You don't suck. You just have room to improve.
First priority is to enjoy what you do. If you're copying someone because you want to and it's fun, that doesn't matter. Just do it.
I mean, we all started out as copycats of someone.
Yeah, there is no real creativity anymore. Everything's a copy of a copy.
As long as everyone is happy, we're okay. Yeah.
So I guess one more thing I'd like to see more of, and this is kind of happening, is TF2 freaks. Because they were like the biggest fad ever in Gmod for like a year or two, and then it got really oversaturated, and then people just stopped making them. But lately, there's been a few guys like Anadon and Kugawatan that have kind of started doing freak content again, and it's been pretty neat. And like I mentioned earlier, there's the Doppelgangers Rampage Tennis, which is about TF2 freaks. So I think
Sorry,
that's
could
cool.
you explain what freaks are? I don't know what that is.
Yeah, so really they're just TF2 characters that have like some kind of like superpowers or that kind of stuff. So it's I guess more of just superheroes in Gmod using TF2, but
Well,
they're just called TF2 freaks for some reason. It's some guys like you have your Vagineer and your Penis Cupcake, and then there's I guess more specific ones that are used less, like Christian Brutal Sniper, and there's like probably 1,000 of these things.
Yeah. Oh, there is also Gentle Spy, who's just a spy with a fedora.
Yeah, often they only have like one gimmick, which kind of makes them one-dimensional, which I think that kind of thing is why the TF2 freak thing kind of got oversaturated and failed. There's too many characters that were just, oh, they're invincible, they have no flaws.
Pretty
It's
much
like,
you every
it's
day
not
you
interesting.
develop a GOC.
Yeah, but there is some like legit cool content that's been made with them.
Yeah. I think my favorite one, personally, I'm not gonna say the original, the first one that came, like Virginia and Penis Cupcake. Speaking of penis cupcake, I have the thing that there's been lots of kind of a penis cupcake copycat. Like you take a part of the body, you had a food, and you have, for example, a aspen cake, or I think there was one that is a sniper. But yeah,
Is Coach a TF2 freak?
I guess you've kind of created him into the type of character where like he almost could be, but he's not. So like it's kind of an arbitrary label, but I guess really what I want is I just want like cool like superhero, supervillain stuff.
Ah, so Coach isn't cool. I see.
He is cool.
What about Pills Lewis?
Oh
Oh,
yeah,
Yeah,
I
Lewis is
remember.
cool, especially the cop in that series.
Yeah.
Evergirl's got a good point. They're just Gmod freaks. That's what it should be. Because like I'm pretty sure there are literally like TF2 freaks that are not TF2 characters.
Yeah. Do you have maybe examples of freaks that are not TF2 related? Like, I don't know. What's the first thing that comes to mind?
I'm drawing a blank, but there's got to be some Left 4 Dead ones out there.
I'm sure. I don't know if we can really consider you as being a pays addict, being a freak. Maybe just a common joke.
Anyway, speaking of jokes, we're going to move on to the video review portion of our podcast. Our first video is going to be Hitman, The Hitting, Chapter 11 by Seedmoz. Now, before we thoroughly dissect your video, do you have anything to say about it, Seeb?
It's the 11th episode, is it? I think that's right.
Yes.
If you don't know what this is, it is this ridiculous fan fiction that was written in 2011, I think, and I read it back then, and I told myself I'm going to make this into a series one day, actual whatever medium it was, because I wasn't doing Gmod at the time. I was like, whatever medium, maybe it's like just drawn animation or something. I want to make this, and eventually I did. I made a Gary's Mod series about this ridiculous fan fiction that I really like personally. I don't even care if anyone else likes it. I just do.
And
I've made 11 of them.
Didn't you inspire the author to continue the series and write more?
Yeah, because I asked him. I didn't want to just start making it without him knowing about it. So I said, hey, can I do this? And he's like, yes, okay, here you go. And he's very reclusive. I have no idea who he is, what he's a very interesting guy. I think it's a male. That's all I know. Oh, man. And when I talked to him about it, he's like really serious about it. He's like, oh, this is what I was thinking when I wrote this. How Hitman does this ridiculous thing. I was thinking, this would be great if I put this. It's so great. This is the funnest experience I've had.
And let me tell you, that script is pretty hard to read. Because any good copy pasta kind of fan fiction, there's just loads of typos and misspellings and wrong words in there. And when I did the narration for this, I watched all the other videos and kind of took notes of what the other guys did well. And what they did well was they took those typos and misspellings and they just went along with them. Which is hard because when you read something, your mind like naturally untypos things. So it was pretty tricky to read. And I also tried to do it all in one take just so that if I laughed at something, it would be a natural reaction to it. And I think you do a good job of incorporating all of those like little quirks and misspellings into things that actually happen in the animation. Like I love when Agent 47 finds the gun under the building and he lifts up the building.
It's literal animation to what's written. I'd like to say that this is where I discovered Hare, someone we all know, Hare, because he did the first reading, the first episode, and it was perfect. He just read it all just straight up. He had a cold, and he did like half of it, just for fun. He wasn't even serious. He just did half of it, and it was perfect. And he even did the voices of Hitman, so now he's Hitman for the rest of the series. I think Hare set the template for how the rest of the series should have been read.
Yeah,
Like
and-
he even left in the part where he just starts laughing. didn't cut it at all. Just did it one.
and I love the end of this when Hera's just like, "Oh no, my house blew up," and it's totally devoid of any emotion or excitement.
Yeah, he's also improved a bit. That's not in the script. What else can I say? Well, in this episode 11, Cammy is in the entire thing. His little avatar as the green engineer. There's been many voices over the. I think. How long have I been doing this for? Like a year until this one
Something
was
like
done.
that. Yeah, I've been in a few of these, but this was my first time narrating, and probably my only time because you have loads of better choices. To be honest.
No, everyone's got to have a turn. It's not serious. Who else did I have in this? It's been a while since I made this one. There's a guy named Sopmot in my Discord. He did this great voice of the cop. It sounds like Charles from Red Dead Redemption 2. If anyone's played that, like he's the cop going, OMG. He sounds like Charles from Red Dead Redemption 2.
That was a really good voice.
And then he did the Trump, and I had to make him act like Trump. You can see that on the
Which
screen.
was
now.
a really good impersonation.
Yeah,
it's
it was
Big
a
alright.
props to him for that.
I don't think I told him to do a Trump voice. I just said, "This is your character," and you read this. But like his name is very similar. It is a parody on Trump anyway, even from GTA 3, which this game is set in. I mean, not the game, the video. It's really weird. All right, this is the story. Hitman: The Hitting is based on the game Blood Money, Hitman: Blood Money. But in this episode, he goes to GTA 3, like literally goes to a game. It's so dumb. And that's why I love it. Oh, this model here you can see on the screen. I had to actually port that into Gary's Mind myself. First port I ever did.
By the way, that's one of my favorite moments when, in the middle of her line, she turns to the camera and says, "She said." I just love it.
Yeah.
Brilliant
Yes.
amount of breaking the
That's-
fourth wall right
That's
there.
voiced by a friend of mine, real friend, Sherry. She did the voice of that character. She was really excited to do it. And I think she's going to voice the next episode if I ever make it. I mean, like the narration.
Yeah, so at the end of this podcast, we are going to address any questions chat has. So feel free to fill up chat with those questions. But I do want to bring up one right now because it's relevant. And Gringo is asking, what were your experiences with working with voice actors? Not just in this video, but all your other videos, because I know you've done a lot of work with voice actors.
Yeah. Oh, it's been really. I've thankfully got a pretty big audience that wants to do voice acting, and I've got Hair. He's really good. I can tell you how voice acting is when I'm doing it myself, though. That's been the biggest challenge. Like for Tasticles, all right. So in Tasticles 8, I did the first voice I've ever done. I was the priest guy in it, and it was difficult. Now in Tasticles 9, I'm voicing pretty much most of the characters in scenes because there's a clone. These clones of this one guy, and they're all voiced by me. And that's because I want like the perfect voice. Like I mean, I need things acted properly. So I can say when you get voice actors, it's not always what you want it to be. You have to direct them properly. Something in Hitman, it's all very not serious anyway. So like if you're getting voice actors, you have to be very like clear and direct. You have to direct them properly, tell them how you need things voiced. There's been a lot of voices that I didn't use in Hitman because I don't think they were what I wanted.
Well, I'm glad
He's
to
gotta
know I
be,
wasn't one of them.
I was going to use you though, even if it was awful as it was. I was kidding.
You're
No,
probably
like, yeah, Hitman's not serious, and I haven't cut out that many voices really. But Tasticles is my thing. It sort of speaks for my personality of all the things I've made. It's sort of my one project. So I'm just voicing all the important stuff. I hope that answered the question. It's a bit rambling.
Yeah, I trying to think. I don't think the rest of us have done too much with the voice actors. Feel free to jump in if you have.
I only did one time a video with a voice actor, and it was for the television Korea 2, and it was a Hodeman. There wasn't even any lip sync. It was just a how do you call that? It was a video that was like a commercial for a bank, and he was doing a voice that you hear in the background promoting the product. So it wasn't much.
And then I've had a few lines that I've had voice acted because I know a guy Minifet who he still occasionally makes Gmod videos, but he was really big back in like 2012 to 2014 or so. And he does a really good Scout impersonation. So he's done a few Scout lines for me, and that was so much better than sentence mixing, both because it was easier, but also because he's a good voice actor. He puts good emotions into his lines, and it fits the scene a lot better.
I don't know about any of you guys if you ever worked with voice actors before.
No, I didn't.
I voice my own stuff.
I will say, if you got someone that you know like Hair, where you know he's a particular personality, he's deadpan, he's very funny, he has a voice.
He
and
got
you
the
can
same
just-
voice as Agent 47. So for
Yeah,
cutting video.
and if you have a character that is like that, you know he's always going to do the right job for you. Like he's a character actor, maybe.
Yeah, because Hair actually does like theater and stuff.
Oh, he does?
Yeah, he's got experience.
Oh, yeah. He also sometimes does the songs, you know? I mean, usually it's cover of songs.
Yeah, covers or what's the word? Like very much borrowing from real music, but not necessarily a covers. But it's still like it's good music and it's performed well.
Plagiarizing.
Yeah.
Say
Plus
he's just a performer.
Yeah, plus he usually voice acts for his own videos.
He could also help you with the script as well, dialogue. He's got a strong character, and
Yeah, he's the kind of voice actor you want in that. Like, he's not just gonna read the lines and say, "Here you go." He's gonna be like, "Hey, I could change these few things and make it 10 times better." And they're good.
and if you think about that, maybe you yourself has a character you could work on. Maybe you could utilize that somehow. All right, what else do you want to know about this video?
Well, one thing I like that you do is like you're not just animating what we're saying and what needs to be shown, but you add a bunch of extra bits like what we just saw with Agent 47 riding the skateboard off the ramp, doing a trick, and then landing on the
He
boat.
does a McTwist, I think.
What?
He does a McTwist from Tony Hawk's Pro Skater.
Yeah, and like you didn't have to do that. That wasn't in the script. You easily without it and people still would have liked it. But that kind of extra stuff that I think a lot of people avoid because it's time consuming is what makes it the difference between a good video and a really good video.
It flows really well, that too.
And that's because I enjoy animating. I just did it because I wanted to. Anyway, that's all. I think we can move on to Joker.
Yeah. Does anyone have any final remarks?
Yes. So for Storytools, I really appreciate how we made the whole animation in GTA 3 because personally it's one of my favorite GTA, and I think it's very underrated. And I'm actually impressed by all the animations you did with those models, and we yacked the inside the jokes.
I love that game as well. Yeah.
Wait,
There's no
GTA
3 models. That's from the PSP game Liberty City Stories.
Oh, we? What about the Codes model? Is it also from the PSP game?
The only model I had was Cloud Speed, and then Asuka, who I had to model myself. Port. Otherwise, there isn't many GTA 3 models.
Huh.
It's from the PSP one.
Quite a challenge.
How long did it take to port the model?
A few days, really. There's tutorials online. It's it's tricky. You got to do the weight painting. That was probably the hardest part. If you know what that is, like
Yeah, I hate that.
most of the skeleton. but it's just on a citizen skeleton.
Sounds quite strange that you did that for every work, Louis. It's quite impressive. The other thing that I
did
really
it.
sorry.
College before.
Oh, so that's
A little bit. Yeah, a little while ago.
That's very good. Yeah, the other thing that I really enjoyed about this Hitman dating that takes place in GTA 3 are all the insider jokes. There was the golden in Under Tower, which is literally what Donald Diov has on his rooftop, where you can find him. And the other inside joke that I really liked was with the helicopter, where we take some Donald Diov and Kim Jong-un on this outside of the map. This is actually a part of the map that was used for. It was used for the intro of the game, and it's somewhere you're not supposed to go to, and you used it for this joke by accessing it with an helicopter. It was honestly the best insider joke on the video. It was my favorite one of the whole video. So nice job
Well, you
on
can.
that.
That's the writer. The writer put that into the story, and I knew what it was. And that's why it's so funny. There's stuff that no one would get, like the little part of the map that shouldn't be in the game, but you can find it.
Saying that it's a beautiful part of the city, that you just wanted to take them just to visit, absolutely not to kill them. Very good. And another thing,
I love this story.
I really liked how the chopper barely moves. It's like the GTA 3 chopper. It's a very low quality, and it doesn't really have lots of animation. I think it adds even better to the context that this takes place in the GTA 3.
All right, so now we'll move on to our other video review, which is going to be Mr. Mister's Joker video. As I mentioned at the beginning, this is his first animation in about 3 years, and it's over 20 minutes long. So let's hop into this.
We live in a society.
You bet we do.
And so I want to clarify that I haven't actually seen the real Joker movie, so like I don't get if there's any references to the film, I don't get that for the most part. Like I know the staircase scene, I know there's the "you get what you deserve" kind of thing, but that's really all I know about the movie. And even then, like, I still really enjoyed this video. So he did a good job of making it not based entirely off of the movie, so it's an enjoyable to any audience, I'd say.
I think this video stands on its own. I don't think it's that close to the movie anyway. I think it's a good video on its own.
Yeah, I think the references are just the frost and the cave. The real contents are completely original.
Okay, well, that's good to know, because I know a lot of he does borrow a lot from films in his videos, which I think is fine because he mashes them up into something that's brand new and fresh. But yeah, with this one, I just wasn't sure like how closely it followed Joker the movie.
It does have some references to it, like the stair dance and the shooting part and the ending.
No spoilers.
Oopsie. Spoiler. In the Joker is dressed up as a clown.
I mean, you pretty much get that in the trailer too, so it's not that much of a spoiler.
Right, so I guess I go if no one has anything to say right now.
Sure.
Alright, so firstly, yes, I did saw Joker before this video, and it didn't really feel like the same thing. Like, I'm gonna try to not say spoilers, but like, the Joker is a movie about a man suffering with nobody really helping him with his mental illness, and this video is more about a video of an everyday guy trying to make content on YouTube. So it's still got a good message like the Joker movie. It's like, how could I put it simply? This Gmod video shows us that sometimes it's not about making a good content. It's just about getting lucky, I guess. To be honest, I feel like the Heavy in the video wasn't a bad person. I feel like there wasn't a bad person in this this video. So sure, the Heavy might be the kind of guy who makes clickbait content and who makes quantity over quality, but he hurted no one by making that. He was happy by himself, and he also seemed to enjoy the content the spy. He thought that everything was fine, but then in the end, the spy had enough. He told himself, if I can't do that, then why should he be able to? Why was he yucky? Why was I not? And it was to the point where he broke out and he knew he shot him. It was a very good comment, a very good video that asks us the question, is it really necessary to put effort in YouTube videos when I can make stuff like that? Why can't I also be yucky? So to be honest, the video, was it really necessary that the spy be dressed up as a Joker? I guess it was just for the references that are very good. But yeah, in the end, this video doesn't have lots of relation to the Joker except for the end, the costume, and the stills. But it's a very good serious video in general. We don't really see lots of serious Gmod videos that talk about serious topics. Like we usually see action stuff or comedic stuff, which I don't complain about. I'm just saying that you don't see that every day.
Yeah, and I think Spy is a really good flawed character here because, like, you got it right. Like, Heavy is kind of portrayed as this antagonist, but like he's a fairly good friend to Spy. He's always
Yeah.
trying to talk to Spy, include him in his things, and like even when Spy goes crazy, Heavy's like, "Hey, I understand, but also you're crazy."
Yeah, I feel
and
genuinely bad for that Heavy near the end of the video. He felt like he just used a friend simply because he was making YouTube videos.
Heavy even asked him if it was worth it in the end. Rather than being content with what he has now, he just became jealous of him.
Yeah,
And
and I just think Mr. did a really good job of portraying the spy. Like his problems are, I mean, yeah, like YouTube is at fault for his problems, but it's his failure to communicate with Heavy what he actually feels before he blows up, and also his failure to, I guess, handle like the pressure and the downfall of his channel that really just slowly breaks him down as a person. And that was cool to see in a Gmod video.
Well, the story in the Joker animation somewhat reminds me of like what it's like for me to make Gmod animations back in some times ago. I think that's before I joined the US server. Back then, I was still a brony, and I had this friend named Nixie. I actually animated before him. I inspired him to dabble in animation and stuff too. So even, eventually he did, he did Gmod to SFM because it's too confusing for him, and he made quite a big name of himself. He got 2,000 subscribers back then, and a small fan base. So I was around that time. I was still like struggle to get to where he is, and seeing him, having all that praise, those yummy sub counts, made me feel like shit. Can I say that? It made me feel like irrelevant and made me jealous and envy of his success. Because think about it, you spend like I don't want to downplay his content because they're actually pretty good, but most of the things he animated back then and it was just like recreation of an already existing memes or material. So of course when he made those he got a lot of exposures, but and around those time I made like a lot of animation with original ideas, a lot of like, I put a lot of effort into making my stuff, and what exactly did I get? Nothing much really. And when you suck up too much of your free time, your energy into doing something you like, that you put a lot of hope and expectation into them, and well, when they didn't go well, you kind of feel really disappointing. And that is exactly what was portrayed really well in the Joker animations. Like, you can feel the emotions, the struggle the spy had to go through with when he made his contents, and when he actually tries something new and different, people took a big crap on him. Hey, I subbed to you to see you review food, not reacting to memes. Can you review meal next time? So I actually had to deal with quite a few of those before on my channel. People like, hey, why you put anime characters in your animation? It's ruin everything. Put more Team 2 characters in it, more Left 4 Dead 2 characters. Anime ruins everything. Like, like when you look around on YouTube and the kind of content Gmod animators made, like, oh, you already seen a lot of people making animation with TF2 characters, Finance at Freddy's, Left 4 Dead characters. Like, can't I just do something new for a change or something? New block to the stream and stuff. Being a content creator on YouTube is just like Heavy say, it's unfair and it's really based on luck. So yeah. So I think being a content creator, you shouldn't like focus too much about stuff. Like at the end of the day, doesn't matter much because when you retire, you don't when you stop making contents, these subs they don't really actually contribute anything much to your life unless you're big YouTubers that actually sell much and in YouTube partnership programs, then yeah, maybe that would be awesome. But for people like us, I think we should remember why we started all of this, because we enjoy making these contents to express ourselves, to have fun and stuff, instead of focusing about fame, because fame, it can ruin you in many ways, and I would rather not dabble around that. So I think at the end of the day, you just have fun and do what you like. Don't care what other people say about you, discriminate you or hate you just because you want to do something different. Just be happy about yourself, and maybe maybe one day you will eventually get there.
But I really liked the scene where Spy confronted Heavy. I thought there was a lot of emotion despite the sentence mixed scene. However, I thought it was my expectation was that, and expectation is that Spy was gonna shoot Heavy because that's basically what happens in the film, and like it was almost disappointing to me that it was leading up to that expectation, because it's like, really, like, you're that's what you're gonna do with this. Uh, but then it was a really good twist that in shutting up Heavy, he decides to shut down the stream, which we just experienced, rather than actually shutting up Heavy by shooting him. And so I thought that was really great. But then everything afterwards just didn't seem to flow as well. Like, it seemed kind of almost uncharacteristic or unbelievable that like Heavy's almost being threatened with a gun and he just kind of like almost nonchalantly calls the cops instead of being like, "Whoa, dude, let's talk about this," or like getting the hell out of there or something like that. And I feel like that was done just because he wanted to make that uh, cop phone prank joke, which, like, I do think that's a good joke. It's nice to kind of call back to something that happened earlier in the video, but here it's just I don't know, it just kind of felt like it all wrapped up way too quickly.
Yeah, I think at that part it would have like, you know, made more sense if Heavy came to Spy and comforted him and, you know, doing stuff that friends would actually do in that situation instead of calling the cops on them.
Yeah, so I almost get the impression that he was kind of like, okay, this video is a little too long. Let's try to find a quick way to end it. What do you think, Seeb?
Oh,
I like it. To be honest, I don't remember how it ends. I'm just thinking of the movie now because, like, I don't have audio watching this again. No, yeah, he doesn't kill him. That's what I remember.
Yeah, so
Ah,
he shuts down the stream, and then Heavy calls the cops, and they both get pulled away in the cop car because, well, Spy is obvious, but then Heavy had done those prank calls earlier for his YouTube video, and they're in the cop car, and like people are waving and recognizing Spy, and Spy looks at his phone, and he has all these subscribers, and Heavy asks, "Was it worth it?" And then Spy kind of like his
right. Yes,
yeah,
of course,
it
I
just
remember
ends.
now. Yeah.
That ending was dark.
I don't know if it's dark. It's sort of true, but
well,
yeah, it
he
is
did.
worth it if it's just for likes. But obviously
Like,
not. We don't have to go to prison for getting likes. I
But
can't
also,
relate.
like, is their punishment really going to be that steep?
Not in America.
Yeah, I mean, Spy was reckless and made someone with a gun,
Yeah,
but like
gun, that's
he
fine.
didn't kill someone. And then Heavy just prank called. So, like, you know, was it worth it? Well, I mean, maybe. Like, Spy kind of solved all of his problems.
Yeah, he did blow up in the end, but was it really worth it then?
Yeah, I like it. I just was happy with the ending. Like, there we go. I didn't think too deep.
I like the way it ended though. Like it doesn't go too deep. Like having Spy breaking down and start questioning about his life choices or anything. It just ended right there after Heavy said, "Was it worth it?" And it leaves up to the viewers to interpret that part. Like they decide was it worth it or not. So to me, it's definitely not worth it anyway. Think about it.
Yeah,
You
often. So,
you
keep it.
like, think about it. You literally threatening to kill one of your friends, like a best friend of yours who actually stuck his neck out for you all the time, check up on you, even wanted to have you on his stream. I mean, realistically speaking, that would definitely have helped his channel a lot. But his jealousy got over his head, and it's, made him act irrational, being too greedy and self-absorbed to see through all of that. And I mean, imagine like this: you went through this situation with your friends, and it basically ended just like this. Do you ask yourself a question? Do you have any courage to look at yourself in the mirror after that, knowing that you nearly kill your friends? You ruin your friendship with him over sub counts on YouTube. Like that's fruit for thought there.
Yeah, so typically Gmod videos don't really make you think about a whole lot. So I think that's neat about this video. I know that's been expressed before, but like this isn't just haha funny or like cool action stuff, but it's something different.
It's rather dark.
So does anyone have anything else to add about the video before we move on to chat questions?
I'd like to
Yes.
say I appreciate all the Red Letter Media references, like Mr. Plinkett, and the sound effects, like the door opening. Anyway, that's it.
I got only one last thing to say about this video. We live in the Source engine.
Yes, we do, Scorpion. Yes, we
So,
do.
so
All right, so our first chat question is very relevant to something that we all have dealt with is has all this self-isolation impacted your productivity with animation, either for better or for worse? We'll go in order, so starting with you, Scorpion.
Yes, it pretty much did. For starters, this actually made me do a Gmod video after a long time. And right now, I'm currently working on a question and answer video that will feature a bunch of short animations. So yes, it did impacted my animation in a good way. In fact, it even inspired me to continue to animate once everything is done.
How about you, Seeb?
I definitely have a lot more time to work, but I'm still hitting the same walls you would usually. I don't know. Having less stimulation in your life does impact your productivity as well, though. Like just being in the same place, looking at the same room every day is going to make you less creative. But I'm just making a lot of work. I don't know if it's good stuff, but it's work.
All right, how about you, Tack?
Well, when the quarantine happened, literally everyone in my family had to literally jobless, and I was the only guy still going to work to support the entire family. So yeah, it kind of affected a lot.
And then how about you, Steve?
I definitely have more time on my hands than I usually have. So I guess I have a lot of time to animate and do stuff I really like to do. So that's a plus for me.
Yeah, as for me, I've been working from home, so my workload is pretty similar to what it was before quarantine. So this really hardly impacts me at all, actually. So in other words, I'm still not animating much. So sorry about that. I do have
Work on
plans
your
to get back
entry.
in the swing of things. All right, next question. We'll go in the same order. What other hobbies do you have besides animating? So Scorpion.
Nothing much really. Playing video games, reading books, watching movies, going for walks, hanging out with friends. Not really possible now. But yeah, nothing really much particular. Also I have making also a screenshot in a Gmod, like poster waters. I really like also doing that.
How about you, Seed Moss?
Similar things, watching movies. I don't watch many TV shows though, but playing games. What's the game that came out recently? Halo 2 came out recently. That was fun. Again, playing that after 20 years. Well, I think hobbies are important. Since I got nothing to say, I'm going to say you need to get hobbies, especially in isolation. Not much to do besides, go on the computer, and you got to get out and exercise and look at things and eat different foods. And yeah, they're important.
Staring at the painter drawing for an hour. This is a really good hobby in the current quarantine.
Even looking out the window is better than looking at the same 3 walls every day. Anyway, that's all.
How about you, Taxon?
Well, for me, there's porting models to Gmod and making posters or playing games with my friend. I don't really have much of anything else because
Yeah, it's hard to
Gmod,
have too much going on.
yeah, don't have anything much going on. Gmod is pretty much my only talent. Like it's pretty much the only thing I consider myself to be good at in my life. Don't have any other things. I used to love drawing back in middle school, but life happened and I dropped it. So yeah, this is my new hobby now.
How about you, Steve?
Well, besides animation, there's of course gaming, and I have self-defense classes, so that's pretty much it for me.
Yeah, as for me, Gmod has actually been killer. I used to be really into music. I played a lot of musical instruments, and I was fairly good. Not quite good enough to major in it in college, but I was seriously considering it. And kind of animation has taken the role that music once did in my life. I barely ever touch my instruments anymore, which I should probably do it more often, but there's kind of like not much of a purpose in doing so. Really, I don't have any performances to work on. I don't have new music to learn. Uh, there was also a time where I was wanting to get into speed running, and I actually learned quite a bit of Metroid Prime 80%, which is a really fun game to speed run. There's a lot of cool, neat tricks to it, and I learned like 80% of the route before I quit because I realized like I was it was just cutting down on my animation efforts, and I just had to pick one, and so I chose animation over that.
That's a very strange combo.
Yeah, I like doing a little too many things. I get pulled in many directions. So next question: what are some underrated Gmod tropes, as opposed to some overused ones such as Putus and Mem? Like, what are some neat things that you've seen in a few videos that maybe you want to see in more? Starting with you, Scorpion.
That's a difficult question you're asking there. So basically, you're asking, the question is what we would like to see more often in Gmod videos, often than the classic jokes.
Yeah, maybe not more, but just like what are some jokes you've seen out there that are kind of underutilized? So like something like Putus, but not.
I'm not sure if it's really going to be an appropriate answer to the question, but I'd like to see more. I don't really have an example in mind, but I would like to see more often a fourth wall breaking in Gmod videos. Like, I don't know, suddenly the character in the video asks for help from the creator, and like he plays a props to help him, or suddenly the ragdoll takes a face gun or something like that. Actually, I do have an example in mind. In Crazy Scout's latest video, Boss Assigned, where the AV suddenly becomes a 2007 animation. That's some stuff I would like to see more often.
Right, how about you, Maz?
I cannot remember where I saw it. I think it might be a video that you made, Camouflage. It's animation synced to music, like old school Warner Brothers Looney Tunes sort of thing. Like when they step, they do 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 do. I saw that. I thought that was really cool. I don't think I would be able to do it. I don't know how to start with that. Animation synced to music.
Yeah, so I that's funny. I've been working on a behind the scenes lately, and I was literally for like working on the bit where I was talking about that for another video because yeah, the video you're talking about was Wily Spiote, which is like 100% music based, which
Looney
that's
Tunes.
actually where I came up with the idea. I was just listening to the music and daydreaming, and that stuff happened, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna animate it. But yeah, there's other scenes where I've had things go with the rhythm of the music, and like sometimes you can do that just by changing the pacing just a tiny bit, and it's such a cool effect. But it is really hard to do this way because like with old cartoons, I imagine it was more like they made the music to fit the cartoon versus, oh, we have this music, let's animate it.
Right. That can go on to silent animation, silent, no dialogue animations.
Yeah, which I'm a fan of, as you can
Yeah,
tell
I'd
from
love to
that
see more of that.
How about you, Taxon?
About underrated tropes in Gmod. Um, I don't have much talks about them, but I think maybe Gmod should have. I think something like a Gmod animation with good story, with an actual story, should be utilized more. Like you know what's the plot is. They go from point A to point B and all that, and there's shenanigans and stuff happening on the way instead of them doing weird stuff and then just play out randomly. I think there's a lot more potential, but it's not the type of humor like I enjoy much because it's all over places on YouTube.
All right, how about you, Steve?
Oh, I don't really have that many tropes because I don't use them and I'm really out of touch with them. I'm mostly out for originality, so I can't really add to this topic or well question.
And then, as for me, something I want to see more of, which this is used commonly, but still, it's just incorporating other Gmodders into your videos, having them as characters. Especially like if you use guys that don't appear in a lot of videos, I always think that's pretty cool to see them.
Well, yeah, that's actually a good idea.
Anyway, our last chat question is going to be, what's a custom Gmod add-on that you would wait, let me read that again, sorry. Yeah, what's some Gmod add-on that you really wish would be created? Starting with you, Scorpion.
I actually don't have a single idea for this question for the moment. So is it okay if we move on to someone else while I think for this question?
Yeah, sure. What do you think, Seed Moz?
Real shadows for one. I would like to have audio in the timeline of the animation, so you can look at the audio perfectly where it syncs up. I would like Fizzgun 2.0. I would like.
Isn't that just regular?
Yeah, even that's a bit weird. Million things really, but shadows just so it looks nice, and motion blur, and everything. Just everything. Next.
Taxon, what do you think? What's your dream add-on?
For my dream add-on, I'm not sure about it, but as of for now, I wish stop motion helper actually fix a few of its issues, or maybe add something new, like you know, like you have a different facial animation, so you can animate movements and lip syncs much more free instead of being restricted into a single framework. And I wish that it actually like it fixed the problems when you know you you keyframe an object and then you animated it, it moved. So at certain angles, it will become invisible, which is annoying as hell because they appear a lot in my uh, the drama, the movie video I did. Like so, if you have watched it, you will see at the scenes where the spaceships going toward the screen, you will see some of the jets. They will disappear, then they appear back. They just disappear forever. Like, when they move closer to the screen or when they get closer to the edge of the camera point of view, it's pretty annoying. And usually for props, the only way to get around with this is you spawn an invisible prop under them, you weld them with that model, and you pretty much keyframe that invisible prop. So when it moves, it drags the props with it. But this method is completely useless if you want to like animate the bonds of the model. Like when when the when Sal animated the crane for the intro of this podcast, he ran into that problem and oh, just not fun. So I hope that they actually update this stop motions helper tool and made it the ultimate stuff. Then maybe I would be super happy and would have like use it to its highest peak and efficiency in my future work.
All right, how about you, Steve?
Well, basically, Sleep and Taxon already said almost what I wanted to actually say too. Like quality of changes, like the facial expression, the face poser timeline, finger poser timeline for SMH, the Bezier curves, maybe, I don't know, yeah, the audio thing for SMH2. Also make SMH compatible with advanced cameras so you can actually animate the FOV without going frame by frame and maybe messing it up in the process.
Yeah, I wonder if that's more of if that's something that SMH would have to do or something that advanced camera would have to change.
I mean, SMH already works with fingers and facial expressions, so it might work with other tools, maybe.
Yeah, so I think that might just be something that the whoever made advanced camera needs to make, in which case it could be pretty simple to get that incorporated.
Yeah, but that would mean you'd have to actually animate the camera and move the camera to actually make it use the FOV. Or maybe not, and I'm not sure. Because usually the animators always put Cindy, the cinder block, or a cube behind the camera to actually move it with the ragdoll mover.
Yeah, it'd also be nice if you could just straight up use Ragdoll Mover on it. I don't know why the cameras have that weird property where it's like you can't select them with a lot of tools. It's really odd.
I mean, don't they have a bone, the cameras?
I mean, they would have to, right? But like you can't select it with Ragdoll Mover. Weird.
They should have basically return into effects or something. No, wait. If so, basically every model has a physics model on them. Because if you port over an SFM model, they basically appear as FX, but they have the bones. They only miss the physics, so I don't know how the camera works then.
All
Well,
right. Sorry.
that's what I only have to say. Go on.
Scorpion, have you thought of something? If not, that's okay.
The only thing I could really think of would be maybe a camera more made for animation. When I want to move a camera in an animation, I take a cube, I remove the physics of it, I stick it into the camera, I weigh the both together, and I do it like that to animate. But I wish there would be directly a camera that you can use for animation, like something smooth like I do right now.
Yeah, so kind of seeing a common theme here. We want cameras to be better and we want stop motion helper to be better. So I'm going to say something different, but also something that's been said like 1,000 times, which is I want something that's like Ragdoll Mover but works for fingers. It'd also be nice if you had like something like Advanced Bone Tool, but where when you select the bone, it would bring up the Ragdoll Mover gizmo.
So, like in Blender SFM, that would be actually a good idea. I already have to fuck around a lot with the finger poser to actually make them good.
All right, so with that, I think we are done here. Thank you, everyone, for coming to our Gpod. Make sure to follow us because we're going to start doing these regularly again. And yeah, thanks for
Faster,
watching.
boy.